Good morning. This is the weekly VOLTHA TST meeting. And it is July the 18th. Bear with me, I'm a little disoriented today. Okay, so let's see. Meeting agenda items. Okay, so for announcements, I was able to get a copy of the recorded TST meeting from July the 4th. So that's been updated in the agenda if anybody would like to watch that. Let's see, and for the BBF, the Cloud CO discussion of integrating with broadband forums and the cloud networking. We did a discussion, or we had a discussion last TST meeting that went very well. And let's see, today I guess we're going to pick up where we left off. There was a request put out for comments for the presentation that Mihira and Sarkhan had worked on. And this meeting is a follow-up for to go over feedback and just discuss what has been going on so far. So let me see, so from here, or Sarkhan would like to take control of the screen and
sure, Jay.
right into the discussion. Okay.
Actually, I received some reviews for the document about wording and some figures, etc. And I applied the change to the document, but there is no big change or comments or any propositions to the document. So actually, I don't have any update about that because of this situation. So if nobody else has any comments or objections to the document, then I think we're done with the document. So no need to go again through the document because, as I said, there is no major change in the document.
Okay.
Mario, I think we can continue to discuss for the next week at least. We don't have all the participants this week.
Sure, we can again, open the discussion and ask people's opinion, and wait for another week for any, comment on the document. So if we can get any other comments or new propositions, etc., then we can discuss. So let's keep it on the agenda for the next week again.
Excuse me, I'll add that in. Oh, excuse me.
Everyone, there's a challenge. Sorry for the delay.
And just FYI, my audio is coming through my monitor and I've got my headset on, so it is kind of hard to hear. So I might miss something. If somebody notices that, please speak up, or feel free to type in the document if you'd like to. Okay, so we'll continue on then. So for new items, I had added two that came up. Some of them have been issues that have been around for a while, but this is just to let people know about them. And they've come up during the release builds as well. So we have some repositories, specifically the ones that are suffixed with -go, like VOLTHA libgo, VOLTHA go, that contain a vendor directory with some Golang sources in it. Now, this directory exists as a bootstrap for the build. We just need the files on disk to actually initiate the build. And the answer that's been used in quite a few places is to check the directory into revision control. This actually creates a few problems downstream. I've run into it building locally. So if we have the files on disk, if you're building locally, there's a condition that exists with the Docker image. If you don't have user ID and group ID configured in the Docker image, which most people are not going to have, Jenkins is okay because we have it already configured over there. But if you're working locally and don't have have the UID and GID set up on the Docker image, when we build, we mount the user's local file system in the Docker image. And then when we're generating, if we run mod update or any of those commands are actually updating the local user's file system through the Docker container. And if the UID and GID are not correct, or if Docker is not aware of the UID and GID, the commands normally fail on a permission denied problem. So the problem that manifests after doing that is if you try to build mod update or go mod vendor, removes the vendor directory before it tries to recreate files in it. And when it tries to write to the vendor directory, that's where the failure manifests. When that happens, if you do a git status in your local sandbox, the vendor directory is gone and you actually cannot run any make commands after that because the makefile is detecting local edits and status. It's easy enough to recover from. You just run a go mod or git checkout of the vendor directory, and that's the recovery. You can continue building. But what we should do, Mahir and I have been talking about this a little bit. What we really should do is remove the vendor directory from revision control and add dependencies in the make file to retrieve the vendor sources and unpack them rather than placing them under revision control. If we do that, then if you ran make clean build today, the failure manifests and you have an unrecoverable build failure. If we add dependencies, retrieve the vendor sources and unpack them, that's the build will not be plagued by these failures that you need to do manual intervention for to correct. There's a ticket open for that. If anybody would like to grab it, feel free. I'll probably grab it at some point while I'm working on the make files. Let me see, there was a second problem that came up. This actually just came up today. I'm trying to build both a northbound BBF adapter to publish the latest version so we can update the Helm charts, to use the non-dev version. The error I ran into with that one is, and there's a link to the Jenkins job on screen. This is a new failure. This is just kind of strange. I haven't seen this before.
Joy,
Yes.
you're not sharing your screen.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
You are not sharing your screen currently.
Oh, yeah, that would probably help. Okay. Okay, can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so just flip back. So just going over the agenda item, there's a ticket open, both 5090. Where both the northbound BBF adapter job failed was in this Jenkins 28 link. And the error that showed up is it's basically the Git package looks like it was updated, which breaks the world. This is a brand new problem. I haven't seen this before, so I'll have to look at that. But that's just to make people aware that's some of the stuff that's showing up.
Joy,
Yes.
is that BBF adapter a part of the release?
It was in the charts and one of the VOLTHA repositories. So yeah, I was trying to build it.
Okay, I mean, to me, it shouldn't be in the release process. This is only a kind of proof of concept code, so it's not really part of VOLTHA currently. So
Well,
I guess we don't need to release BBF adapter.
Okay, that's fine. I can exclude it then. That's one less problem to work on.
What do other people think about that?
Yes, Mayor. I don't think it's part of the VOLTHA release.
Okay, so the next problem that's up, Jan has two entries in here, if he'd like to step in, was addressing the VPN instability to the DT lab, which was affecting testing for some of the testing that was running in the community pod. And there was a second one that was a test failure related to a new version of the AdTran OLT adapter. I believe that's what that one.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So the first one may be this VPN instability. So that's still not solved. So I've worked a bit with the guys from DT operating the lab. There have been a bunch of steps to fix that, but it's still not fully resolved. So we like exchanged the SFP module and the fiber and recabled a bunch of things. So it's a bit more stable now. So it's at least at the point where the IPsec connections going outwards are up most of the time. There seems to be still some kind of issue in terms of the firewall configuration and the nutting, but we have not gotten to the root cause for this. And then there is also still an issue in the general connectivity, which DT at least told me they need to investigate further. So yeah, so there will probably still be some times where the lab is just not reachable, and then we need to restart the services there or the IPsec connections because they're not automatically coming back up. And yeah, but like for the most parts, it should at least be a bit more stable than before, I hope. And as said, I'll continue working with the DT folks on getting a more final solution to the problem. On the other part, in regards to this new version of the VOLTHA adapter for the AdTran OLTs, I got access to the AdTran repository. I was able to download the new version, so it's not like 21.5, but now 23.1. And I pushed it to all of the nodes and pushed and already got merged the pull request. I think somebody from AdTran, I think Torsten reviewed and merged that. So we have also merged the update for the version for VOLTHA 2.11 in the Jenkins jobs. It basically led to the part where at least this part is not failing, but it failed just at the next possible point. So yeah, we still need to investigate what exactly is wrong there. I think there is a problem in registration of the ONUs. There might be an issue in the configuration of the OLT or of ONOS, not completely sure. There was one point that either Torsten or Niels raised, I'm not sure anymore, in regards to an old ONOS version. So yeah, there's still some debugging ongoing. I think Torsten wrote me today some more things that I have not looked at yet. I'll try to go through that later. And then, yeah, still some debugging efforts are underway. I think this is a good way to put it.
Okay, cool.
Jan, a question. So even if we have a better connectivity comparing to the last week, are we currently able to do or run the Jenkins jobs, do any tests on this code for release?
Yeah, so I was, okay, so then maybe to give a bit more context. So I was specifically focusing on this one AdTran issue because I think Joey or somebody told me that this is a very important part. Because this is one of the pipelines that should be running. I've also looked at most of the other pipelines and they fail for different reasons, which is not related to the connectivity from my point of view. So the connectivity is, although not perfectly stable, it's stable enough for Jenkins to push the jobs and for the jobs themselves to run and report back. But the other pipelines, no matter if for 2.11 or master of VOLTHA, are failing through the bank with a bunch of different issues. There is issues which show that the basic sanity tests, so the basic ping tests, are not working, which again might be something in terms of misconfiguration somewhere. I saw tests where we expect some, I don't know, a certain amount of throughput, and this is not met. So that's obviously at a lot later stage. So it means that sanity worked and there's already tests running, but there seems to be something wrong either in the configuration or in the expectations or in VOLTHA itself. Hard to tell exactly. And then, yeah, so there's like a huge amount of different failures throughout all of the pipelines. I did not see any pipeline that fully succeeded. But since there are so many different ones, I went with what Joey suggested here and just like looked at one pipeline for now, this Atron thingy. Torsten and Niels have been a big help here in like pointing me into some of the right directions of how to debug it. And yeah, I'm on it, I guess, but there's just too many broken things to actually say that we can use the pipelines. I mean, you can run them, but it's not too useful now. I think one of the biggest issues in debugging them right now, and that's also what we realized with Atron here, is there's always two stages, right? There's the setup stage, so basically this build stage, which installs everything. And then it's the stage where we actually run the tests. The issue is the build stage always succeeds because of all of this or true or whatever. So it always succeeds, although there is an immense amount of issues in that, like stuff's not reachable, the chart is not there, the container is not there, the whatnot. But we will not see it because it just says green because all the tests end with or true. So the build job basically says everything is fine, although it failed at a lot of stages. And then the test job runs, assuming that the build job was successful, and then fails for all kinds of other reasons, probably not even related to the tests, probably related to the already failed build job. But yeah, it's hard to see, right? Because you basically have to go through all of the logs because the pipeline output in terms of red and green doesn't tell you anything. It's always green, right? So it's always saying that green job succeeded, although it failed in so many different places. That's like slowing down the whole process a bit, but I'm like, I think Joey and I are basically looking at all of the logs and trying to figure out what are the most important failures, what are the first things to fix, and then, yeah, moving step by step.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
And just a quick reminder about that. Yeah, absolutely. The or true statements are masking a lot of the problems that are going on. Just a reminder, there's two different ways that you can run a build system. You can either run it so that you're having builds or tests fail as soon as possible to be able to get feedback from them. There's another way that you can run the jobs that it's currently what we're doing, where if you have jobs that take a long time to run, like some of our periodic jobs run overnight and they have at least a 4-hour runtime, just due to volume and whatever else is being tested. So some people will modify the jobs that are running so that if you have a job that runs for 4 hours, you don't want to necessarily have it stop on the first failure. So that's kind of where it looks like that's kind of where the or true statements had been added into the system. And just over time, we've got a bunch of them, and really need to go back and remove those statements so we can start seeing the failures again. One of the reasons why we're seeing so many failures right now is we've been going in and removing a lot of those or true statements so we can start seeing failures. Not gone in and removed them across the board because it would just be bedlam if we tried to do that. Everything would be failing everywhere. But we're seeing a lot more failures right now because those masks that are preventing the failures from showing up, those are being removed. So we are seeing a lot more. We're visibly seeing failures now rather than having to go hunt for them in the logs. So there's nothing. There's no surprises here now. We knew the failures were there. They're just a lot more visible.
Yeah, I think that's very good. Just like in general, I think, or I was thinking about removing all of the or true statements for the build jobs, because I think the build jobs, these pseudo successful build jobs are costing us a lot of time by triggering the test pipelines.
Yeah.
Although those test pipelines, we already know after the build job that those test pipelines will never work because the build job wasn't really successful, right? It was just like pseudo successful. So I think like if we could remove most of these 4 true statements from there and just let the build pipelines fail if there was something in there, we might save a lot of time at a later stage. I have started looking a bit on like where we could do that. There seem to be quite a lot of places where we would need to remove those. One of my colleagues was also looking at that. So yeah, I think like this might give us a bit more space to experiment, because if we already see that the build jobs are failing, we don't even need to try the test jobs, giving more time to the test jobs that are actually where it's actually possible that they succeed, right? Because I think there are some build jobs that are actually working, and there's some test pipelines that are looking promising to the point where the sanity tests work and then it's failing at a later stage. But in general, this is more of like fixing tests and configuration and stuff like that, not so much figuring out everything from the beginning. So yeah, maybe that's something to work on.
No, that sounds like a good idea to me. We probably should be careful about opening tickets for everything, because we're probably going to be opening a can of worms when we start removing them in bulk. I do think that's a good idea. We'll just have to keep track of stuff. Does anybody have any questions, comments, or thoughts about any of this?
Guys,
Yes.
do we have some red flags here? We need to release VOLTHA 2.12, and it is like we're 2 weeks late. So I think without doing all of these tests and without making them run successfully, we cannot release VOLTHA.
Okay.
So what's your expectation? I mean, how much time do we need to correct these errors, or should we, I don't know, go for some kind of postpone for this release? Or
what I was planning to do, just given the sheer volume of the problems we're going to have to debug, I don't have an ETA on when that is going to be cleaned up, because this has been a problem for a while. What I'm planning on doing is going in and creating the pre-release branches on all of the repositories to at least get the community disconnected from being blocked on the release, so everybody can continue working, and then we can, within the pre-release branch staging for release, we can clean up run tests, get a good handle on what when everything is in a good state, and then we can make the decision to release if we postpone it right now, or not today, but figuratively.
okay, got it. I mean, at least we after a while we can give community the chance to begin the development and push their codes. So that's, at least that's good, but it seems to me that we will need some weeks of time, perhaps months of time, to clean all these problems.
Yeah, I'm willing to work on any schedule that we need to. That's that's fine.
Yeah, so Mayor, I think having a pre-release, or let's say a beta tag, I think should unblock things at least. And regarding the pipelines, right? I think if we can get at least a few pipelines to work, right? I think and we could test at least a couple of workflows, not all the combinations. Maybe we make a release with those caveats, right?
Yeah, but then which workflows and which tests should we run?
Yeah, so we should be able to do at least the DT and TT workflow, one of each with the hardware, I think. So if we can get those two pipelines to work, right, I think we should be decent. But before that, I think given that we all understand that this is going to take some amount of time, I think it makes sense all the more, right, that first to unblock the community so that they can continue their development, and also make put a beta tag so that external parties who are using Volta code, right, can also have a snapshot view of what is going to come in the release, right? Because we are not anticipating that the Volta source code is going to undergo a lot of changes as we after this pipelines pass. Right, at least that's not the expectation. If that happens, yeah, we will make those changes, but that's not the expectation. So I think a beta tag should help everyone who is consuming the project.
Got it. Okay. I mean, I don't have any other comments. The problem is here. Yes, the first problem is to, as you said, let the community to continue the development. The second is, if any operator on, anybody depends on our new release, have plans to, take this new release to test or, merge to their environment, I don't know. This is the second important thing, I guess, we need to care about.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, I think we have to chew on those pipelines one by one, maybe, and then see how it goes. I think we have to go through the pain. I don't know if there are any shortcuts to this at this moment.
Okay.
But also, Mayer, one thing that would be helpful is, right, if once the beta tag is put, right, and if some of the operators who are using Volta, right, if they can take that beta tag and they also do their own tests, right, if they try to do the test with the beta version, right, and come back, that would also be a decent feedback, right? Because proactively, even before our hardware pipelines are fixed, I hope it doesn't take that much of time. But if before the hardware pipelines are fixed, if we get those feedback, right, we could already start fixing some of the problems. Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I mean, we never, had any beta release, I guess.
Yeah, I think this.
This will be the first time of it. Let's try to continue to branch and let community to start development. If anyone waits for this, then try to fix the problems. As you said, we can define, or we can select some of the Jenkins jobs that needs to be run clearly, and which are has the highest priority for us, and try to fix the problems in this Jenkins jobs and this test. Then we can again discuss if we can release Volta now or not. And anyone from us, from community, from TST members, and other community members can help. They can check the Jenkins job and try to find if the problems are related to the software and if they can help or not. Okay. Could you please also Joy put the link of the Jenkins again to here so that people can, you know, use this link to check the status of the jobs.
Which Jenkins link were you interested in? The dashboard to see everything? The links to jobs that were failing? Links to specific jobs that we're going to use to validate testing?
Yeah, I mean, the jobs that needs to be run for VOLTHA, new VOLTHA release.
Okay. We could, maybe the thing to do is create a new view. I won't go into the details with it, but if we have a list of jobs to run, we can create a new view in Jenkins that just specifically lists those jobs, so you don't have to go hunting for
Yeah.
things. That's easy.
And yeah, and let's prioritize the jobs on this view so that we can, you know, check them according to this prioritization level.
Okay. That's easy to do. I know that's a big topic. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to add to it or request or? Okay. Let me see. So, oh, I don't have a link up for this. I'll have to go dig the link up after. There's a Confluence page that we've been tracking the components and the repositories that have been deployed and released. All of the, I think all of the ONOS components have been built and pushed out. And I've been working on trying to get the versions updated in the chart file and all the other pieces that need to be deployed. I'm not getting blocked on this right now, but the VOLTHA Protos repository has a dependency on it on the gRPC Google module. This is just FYI. So there's a problem, a version problem that does not show up in the VOLTHA Protos repository, but it will show up downstream in the VOLTHA libgo repository when you try to build. Evidently, within the Golang modules, there's a concept of a package namespace, and around version 1.30.0, the namespace was removed from the gRPC package. I've not quite figured out how this got in, but we are currently running with version 1.44.0. So I'm not sure why we're not having problems with that. But if you try to update to one of the later versions and then try and build VOLTHA libgo after the upgrade happens, there is a message, sugar, and I don't have it here. It's basically package namespace is no longer supported, and mod update ends up failing because of the version that's being used and the fact that the package namespace is missing. So just FYI, to do an upgrade in the future to the newer version of gRPC, it looks like there's some peripheral work that's going to need to go in to be able to use the newer version of the gRPC module. But for right now, I'm not blocking deployment on this. I'm just going to continue using the 1.44 version that's currently available. Yeah, working through versions in GoMod and chart YAML and values, they're all just all over the place. And there's a lot of sequencing that you have to do because you have to release the version in one repository, change it from a development version to the release version, then update the Golang modules and the charts. But I'm pretty far along. I'm almost through all of that. And just a side thing, there's this Jenkins ticket. A lot of it is build and test issues, but the issues that are open around the release are in here. I'm trying to do a cherry picking list that are mostly development related problems, like the gRPC module. and they can be found on this Confluence page. If anybody would like to grab and work on any of those. And if you find anything missing, feel free to open up tickets and attach it to the release Jira ticket. Does anybody have any questions or comments about any of this?
Yes, Jay. So a little curious on this. So this is around Volta Protos, and you said that is also causing problems in building Volta libgo. And Abhilash, you're on the call. I can see you there, right?
Yeah,
So-
but
Yeah. So if I remember correctly, off late there have been quite a few patch sets that have been delivered on Volta Protos as well as Volta libgo, right? I'm just curious, how come these problems were not seen when you folks worked on those patch sets, and why these problems are cropping up now when Joe is trying to do the release?
The details are
Any ideas?
I don't know because the Jenkins will not even give +1 if all the tests are done. Yeah, the build also went through fine. We didn't have any issues there. So what is failing? The go mode ID is failing.
But just some background, literally the only edit I have made is go into Volta libgo, modify the go.mod file, and change the version string to 1.56.0. That triggered this.
Okay.
On screen.
Okay, so I think so. These are dependencies. Once you change the gRPC, then there are a lot of dependencies also which are kicking in, I guess.
Correct.
That probably could be the reason.
And side
But
note,
why are we? Yeah, but why are we updating the gRPC? Is there any feature which went in gRPC which wherein we need to update it, the gRPC library, or it's just that we just to keep it update, we are updating it?
while I'm going through the release, just FYI, there are a lot of dependent modules that have not been updated for a while, so I have been trying to update these.
Okay.
And side note, you can actually go in, take the version in Volta Protos, and that's perfectly fine because we don't seem to have any. This, sorry, I know I'm jumping around here. I was suggesting earlier that we add a smoke test or at least run mod update in Volta Protos, because the behavior I'm seeing right now is you can update go mod in Volta Protos to a newer version. That is completely fine because we're not really running any tests at that level. But when you start trying to update in some of the downstream repositories like Volta libgo, that's where I started running it, the make mod update failure that manifested because of 1.56.2 when I tried to update it in Volta libgo to make it match Volta Protos. Like I said, I haven't dug into the details, so I'm not entirely sure why this hasn't manifested before, but if you just go in and just simply update the version strings, it where you can see the problems I ran into with this.
Joy, in general, I guess updating the libraries or dependencies, etc., increasing the versions. To me, we shouldn't do them in the release cycle. We should do them after the release, during the development, and see everything is okay and all tests are running, etc. So we should do it, in a controlled way, So it's better to do them later.
Yeah.
Yes, completely agree with you, Mahir. I think given the state at which our pipelines are right now, I think it's pretty risky to change the versions, because if there is a behavioral change, we wouldn't know of it. That would be a problem.
Yeah, right. And also, this could kick in few other updates as well because of the dependent libraries. Few other libraries also can go to update. So yeah.
Yeah, so it might be it might be more prudent to stay with the existing ones till we are able to make our pipelines green, and then I think we should pick up all of this and then start updating the libraries to the newest and stable versions.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that I've stopped doing the updates
Yeah.
for the release. But just be
Okay.
aware, there's a lot of versions in the Go mod file that are quite, some of the releases are back into 2021 or 2020, so we're like almost 2 or 3 years behind on some of the version, and we're pretty far behind right now. But I agree.
Yeah, we can take notes about that and bring this, I mean, open task and bring these issues after the release and then do it later.
Yeah.
After the,
Yeah, I would say, Jay, for all the good work that you have done, right, and you've identified the places where you already see those problems, yeah, you should put them into a safe place so that we don't lose track of this, maybe in a Jira or yeah, somewhere in the notes, so that when we really take this item up, we know, okay, what to target, right?
Right. Yeah, I've been opening tickets for all of the stuff I've been running into, build failures and whatever. There are Jira tickets, like in this case for the VOL 5089 for the gRPC module. It doesn't, probably should explicitly say it needs to be upgraded, but the ticket captures the problems from trying to upgrade it. Excuse me. Okay, yeah, just to reiterate, I'm not going to try and update any of the, well, with one exception, when we've updated like VOLTHA libgo, VOLTHA protos, we do need to update the versions in the Go mod file, but I will not update any of the peripheral dependencies that are currently in there. Okay, well, with that, that's all of the highlighted agenda items. So I guess the floor is open for discussion if anybody has any topics they'd like to bring up or items they'd like to cover. No, this will be a little bit shorter meeting today. Let me see, it's 11:46, I guess, so we can give you about 14 minutes back for your day. Last call for anybody having anything new they'd like to add. Okay, well, I guess thanks for everybody for joining.
Thank you. Bye.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.